Hey, good morning. Good morning. Karen Drucker is on my Alexa. Pause. So, Karen Drucker is one of my favorite morning musics to get me started and get me centered on today and what's happening today. Today is Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. And on Tuesdays, I like to stay focused on workers' justice, social and restorative justice for workers. I've got some updates. So I had communication with someone whose daughter was experiencing a very toxic work group at her organization, and she was able to communicate with HR and got moved from that work group just to another work group, which she feels a lot better in, and just really enjoys being there and doing the work and feels wanted and listened to. She feels heard. So that's one update. Like, that did happen. And so if you are listening to me or watching me at some point, focused on workers' justice, one of the best, or social justice, one of the best things that can happen for workers is being in a department, being in a section, and not really feeling like they fit in, and just making that kind of lateral move to a different department, different section within the organization that will then help them feel wanted and want to stay in that employment. Again, that kind of addresses turnover. So if you have a high turnover rate, look at moving people just to different sections within the organization, different departments, different spaces. So that's one update. And then another update, and this has been coming back to me, being pigeonholed, right? So having that experience, I have a thumbprint on my glasses, having that experience of getting hired at this role, this position, this place, and even through your efforts, even through your getting additional training, getting additional, letters behind your name, applying for numerous jobs, you still are in that one position. And it just really decreases growth and innovation, and does not benefit that worker in any way. So try to stay away from pigeonholing people, thinking that they can only do one thing within your organization, when they have numerously said, I can do more than one thing, and please don't limit or don't underestimate my abilities to do other things. Don't do that with workers if you're in a position to assist a worker in their autonomy. Think about that. All right, so here today, now in this moment, let's unpack these three threads: gossip in the workplace, passive-aggressive communication in the workplace, and social restorative justice in the workplace, because they're deeply connected to dignity, trust, and organizational culture. So, definition: gossip. It's sharing information about others without consent, often unverified. The impact: it erodes trust, creates reputational harm, and fosters a culture of suspicion. And restorative lens: instead of punishing gossip, invite reflection. What need was being met by sharing this story? So what need of that person who shared that story was met because they were able to gossip? Often it's a desire for connection or influence, and probably attention. Redirect that energy into transparent dialogue, circles where people can connect without harm. So someone says something gossipy. We're going to go over this. I have some examples to go over. So we'll go over those examples of what gossip in the workplace looks like. Passive-aggressive communication is indirect resistance or hostility expressed through avoidance, sarcasm, or subtle digs, right? Just really subtle, mean digs that are really harmful and aren't true at all. The impact: it creates confusion. It undermines collaboration and it blocks accountability. Restorative lens. Passive aggressive is often a symptom of fear. Fear of retaliation, fear of not being heard, fear of not being loved. Restorative practice asks, what made it unsafe to speak directly? Building psychological safety allows workers to voice concerns openly. Social and restorative justice in the workplace. Social justice ensures equity, fairness, and dignity in systems, addressing bias, discrimination, and structural harm. Restorative justice focuses on repair rather than punishment. It asks, who was harmed? What do they need? Who is responsible for meeting those needs? Application and workplace culture, circle dialogue, structured spaces where workers can share experiences, listen actively, and co-create solutions. Narrative repair, counteracting gossip and passive-aggressive communication by centering truth, transparency, and compassion. Accountability without shame, encouraging direct communication and responsibility. While, hey, hang on a second, okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll be right back. Not yet. Not yet. Okay, cannot end the stream. So something's going on, but I'll just have to wait. Okay, I think it's okay now. Narrative repair, counteracting gossip and passive-aggressive communication by centering truth, transparency, and compassion. Accountability without shame, encouraging direct communication and responsibility while preserving dignity. All right, let's practice some examples. Imagine a team where gossip spreads about a colleague's missed deadline. Transactional response. HR issues a warning about gossip. Restorative justice. A facilitated dialogue explores the unmet needs, clarity, support, workload balance. The colleague shares their perspective, the team reflects on how assumptions fueled gossip, and together they agree on new communication norms. So, give me just a second. Think of a time when indirect communication shaped your experience at work and what it felt like. All right, experiencing gossip. I heard people talking about me missing a deadline. It wasn't true, but no one asked me directly. How does it feel when stories about us circulate without our voice included? No one asked me. Sometimes this is for passive aggressive, right? Sometimes I make sarcastic remarks instead of saying what I really mean. It's easier than confrontation. What makes it hard to speak directly? What support would help? I overheard the gossip and didn't know whether to step in. I didn't want to make it worse. What role do bystanders play in either fueling or stopping indirect harm? Notice the needs underneath these behaviors: connection, safety, influence. Gossip and passive aggression often meet those needs in unhealthy ways. So let's explore healthier ways and healthier alternatives together. What would direct, restorative communication look like in those moments? Instead of gossip, I could check in directly. Hey, I heard something. Can we clarify together? I heard you missed that deadline. Is that true? No, it's not true. Can I tell you my side? How does direct communication shift the energy compared to gossip? If I feel frustrated, I could say, I need clarity on deadlines instead of making a sarcastic remark. What makes it safer to speak? All right. Indirect communication erodes trust. Direct restorative dialogue builds it back. Today, we practice naming harm, surfacing needs, and co-creating repair. Repair begins when we replace whispers with voices. All right. We all know the feeling. When whispers replace direct dialogue, when sarcasm masks frustration, when trust erodes one quiet comment at a time. These behaviors don't just bruise reputations, they fracture dignity. Gossip is often framed as harmless chatter, but in reality, it's storytelling without consent. It's a narrative about someone's life told without their voice. And when gossip spreads, it creates a culture of suspicion where truth is secondary to rumor. Restorative justice asks us to pause and ask, what need is being met here? Often gossip is about connection. People want to bond, feel included, but connection in this way builds on harm and is fragile. Then there's passive aggression, the sarcastic remark, the silent treatment, the subtle dig. It's communication wrapped in avoidance. And underneath, pain, fear of retaliation, fear of not being heard, fear of being abandoned, fear of conflict, fear of not being good enough, fear of not being loved. Restorative practice invites us to ask, what made it unsafe to speak directly? When we build psychological safety, workers don't have to hide behind sarcasm. They can name their needs openly. So, what else does repair look like? It looks like circles of dialogue, where workers can share experiences without judgment. It looks like narrative repair, replacing gossip with truth, replacing sarcasm with clarity. It looks like accountability without shame, because dignity isn't restored through punishment. It's restored through listening, honesty, and repair. Workplaces thrive when whispers become voices and stories become narratives. When we replace indirect harm with direct compassion, when we choose repair over rumor. So today I invite you, notice the gossip, notice the sarcasm, and ask, what's the need underneath? Then choose to meet that need with honesty, with courage, and with care. Because restorative justice isn't just a framework, it's a practice. And it begins with us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. More to come. As always, I'm Al Cameron. Continue to watch my YouTube. Thank you.